was Dennis Rodman. It was Phil Jackson, our coach. It was so many people that were on the Chicago Bulls team that made me be successful. He was never cocky and had it about himself, Trey Snyder.
But what Brandon brought up was a great
That was
point,
Dean Smith.
even though it made me want to go get up and go take my Geritol. It just depends on the generation, Before Bird and Magic, it was Pistol Pete and all those guys. But Jordan's hard to beat.
That's right. That's right. Trey Snyder, I know you were going to comment, and then we got cut off. What was you going to say?
Hey, don't forget about Muggsy Bogues. He's a little 4'11" point guard down in Charlotte.
Yes,
right. Do not forget about Muggsy.
Yes,
that's
Muggs.
right.
He was a good one. He was a good one.
Don't forget. But again, well, good thing, like I said, Mike mentioned it just a second ago. The generation. Michael Jordan was the best in his generation. LeBron James is the best in his generation, and it's the time period. Right. More physical back then. Now the offense is catered now in the NBA, and they're allowed to put up. For example, there is no way that Mr. Harden himself would be able to last when Michael Jordan was playing basketball. There is no way, because of the way the traveling, the whatever it's called, being pushed back and then wanting to foul. He gets 15, 20 points just on the free throw line. I mean, so there's no way, for example, LeBron James makes do what?
No, I'm sorry. I was saying is traveling even a rule in the NBA anymore? You don't see it called.
No, it ain't. I mean, you can take 4 or 5 steps and call it a day. And so, it's the generation, LeBron James, and I see all this stuff on Facebook. Compare. You had to pick one, cut one, sit or bench one, or cut whatever, start whatever. I was like, who really cares? And the reason why I say that, because it's such a different time now compared to just when we were growing up, compared when we were not even born. It's 3 different generations, all 3 different styles of basketball, and we just got to be proud and really honored to say, you know what, we saw in our generation the best all time in LeBron James. Growing up, this is who we had. When I was 32 years old, Michael Jordan was still playing, so I was honored to be able to watch him in his prime. So, it's just a situation where you got to look at it as a generation aspect of things. Michael Jordan was great in his generation. LeBron James is good in his generation.
All right. And Zion Williamson might be great in his generation.
And now, Bruce Barrett, do you have the stats on LeBron James?
LeBron James?
Yes.
Let's see. 1,257 games played. He averaged 27.1 points a game, 7.4 rebounds a game. His field goal percentage was 50.4. And if you remember, Michael Jordan's was 49.7.
Wow, that's close. Wow, pretty damn close.
Yeah. Yeah, and remember, Michael Jordan was 33% from the three-point. Well, LeBron James was 34.4. So, I mean, when you look at the stats and everything, they're very, very close. But, I agree with what he said about, the different time periods. I mean, before Michael Jordan, everybody was talking about how great that people like Wilt Chamberlain was, or Dr. J. Wasn't Dr. J a phenomenal player during the 70s?
For sure. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing was good.
Oh, Patrick Ewing, yeah.
Kareem the Dream Olajuwon.
Every time Larry Bird and Michael Jordan played, I'm sorry, it was evening entertainment. Even in the college championship game.
Yeah.
Remember, that was one of the times they met.
For sure.
So, it's really a tough thing when you start talking who is the greatest of all time. Well, you got to look at the generations that they played in, and I would like to give one other shout out since we are talking about basketball. The great Curly Neal passed away last week, and
broke my heart.
And was there a better guy that could dribble the basketball?
No, never. That was the Globetrotters, his error.
Yes,
him
sure.
and Meadowlark.
Yes.
That was the Globetrotter.
For sure, and it
Twiggy Sanders.
It'll be interesting to see where the Globetrotters goes from there for sure, because he definitely set the bar with what they did with that company and that organization for sure. All right, guys, we're about ready to wrap it up here in about another 7 minutes. Podcasts will be available here on replay and, of course, on all of the other podcast outlets, including CRNSports.org, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. All you have to do is simply, clearly, mainly put in CRN Sports Network, and you can be able to check it out. Hey, guys, let's talk about sim racing. Trey Snide, I'm going to let you jump into this subject to begin with because, first off, you're not a fan of racing. You hate racing. You do not like racing. You make fun of me every time that I didn't know that, Daniel. Screw you. But anyways, you're not a fan of racing. You always poke and make fun and jokes at me. But you actually got a little interested watching the sim racing, the esports, NASCAR, iRacing, invitational series on Fox the other day. Talk about that. What'd you think?
It's fun. I mean, to be honest with you, again, like you mentioned, I am. Growing up, I was more of a fan because I would be able to go, and I just haven't been to a race. I went to college for a dirt track. With dirt track racing is outstanding. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But the thing is, with iRacing, it gives you want to continue building an audience and a new generation, new fans to come into any kind of sport. And the great thing about what this does is it brings a new generation of the ones that are so used to being behind a phone, a laptop, a computer screen, a TV with their little controllers. It brings them into, so you know what? I can make some money. For example, those little games on TV, I think they had raised more money, like $3.6 million that teenager won to play video games on ESPN, more than like a professional player. And so it brings a new generation, it brings a new fan base involved with sports. And I am all for that because right now you're seeing high school sports decreasing by the year. Maybe because it's for the physical aspect of things, but maybe they're realizing, you know what? We don't have to play sports to make money anymore. We can play video games. This allows them and the new fan base to enjoy racing. Somebody like me that's really not a fan of racing, but can get into it because this is what they're so used to seeing right now. My son he knows my iPhone 8 better than I do, and it's not even funny. And I'm 32. He's 2 years old. So that's one. It's a shame, and that's terrible to say. But it brings a new fan base, and I am all for that. And it gets me excited. If I get excited about racing on something like this,
yes, sir.
A lot of people are going to be like that too.
Brandon White, almost 1.4 million watchers from the Texas broadcast on Fox FS1 and the Fox Sports the Fox Sports app simulcast on Sunday afternoon.
Well, that and also a little something that came out about the Homestead race that it attracted about 220,000 viewers who had not yet seen a real NASCAR race this year.
Yes.
So it goes back to that demographic that iRacing is channeling into. I mean, there's no telling how many new fans they might have brought in for the Texas race this past weekend. So, it's good. It's bringing this new demographic, but it's also giving some of the guys who normally race on iRacing more time in the spotlight, like Garrett Smithley, William Byron,
Timmy Hill,
and Timmy Hill. Because Timmy Hill, he's a journeyman backmarker driver. I mean, he never competes for top 15, top 20s, but here he is because he has laps and laps of iRacing. And he wins a race, with 1 million people watching. So that's really good for him, too. And it could possibly lead to some more opportunities for him once we do go back racing in real life in the near future.
That's
so
true.
There's so many positive things that are coming out of iRacing. And, Fox Sports, NBC, they're seeing this. I mean, they're going to be Fox Sports is going to be airing some dirt track iRacing on Wednesday night. So
yes,
they're really starting to tap into that gold mine, and we're going to see a lot more out of this in the next few weeks.
Daniel Moore, Relentless Daniel, sim racing, yes or no?
Well, I mean, kind of, I'm kind of in the same boat with Trey. I haven't watched it, like I talked about on Friday. I hadn't watched it in years, and like I said, I woke up one day, saw it was on, and just started watching it just because it was simulation instead of the real thing, I guess. But I mean, for some reason it drew me in. So I mean, that's really all I can say. But I mean, like I said, kudos to them for bringing in. Well, you said Friday that they had been doing it for a while, but for it to kind of have a sort of a resurgence because of all of this.
Well,
and I mean, esports is growing as a whole too.
Right.
It's not not just sim racing, but
that's right.
I mean, you've got like video games, Call of Duty League.
We're not talking about
Rainbow Six Siege. They have a big.
That's like I saw something on Facebook the other day where they were advertising a game called Sniper, and and literally the graphics is literally being a sniper up on the roof and you're shooting somebody. You're taking a gun, and they do the graphics, they do the content, and they're shooting somebody. And I'm thinking to myself, now this is why our world is as fucked up. Pardon my language, is as fucked up as it is now. Because we have these games, this content that has been created, telling these young kids, "Hey, let's play a sniper rifle game where you can shoot." I mean, now, granted, what do you mean no?
No, that's like blaming guns. That's like blaming the actual gun for the gun problem that we have in America. That's entirely up to the person.
Condoning that type of violence on Facebook, I necessarily do not agree with, because it gets out to masses of young people.
Well, I mean, it's going to do that anyway.
Brandon White.
And plus,
regardless of whether it's on Facebook or whatever.
And there have been, countless studies that have shown there's no connection with violence in video games. I mean, this is a tired debate that's going to go on for years and years, unfortunately. So, but, that's a conversation for another time.
Yes,
Bottom line is, esports, they are,
I used to play
it's a completely different thing that's going out there.
I used to play tanks on Atari, and I've never stolen a tank and went and killed anybody.
Exactly. Hey, I used to play Frogger back when it was popular, and I never went good deciding how many cars I could jump out in front of and make it across the street.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fine. You ganged up on me all on this subject. Finally, Mike Guerin, esports racing, good, bad. What's your take of what they've done the last couple of weeks?
I like it. I've not watched it, but I like the fact that it's bringing more people into the sport. And hanging around with my track boss, Kenny Slayton, he's big proponent in sim racing. It was huge in the beginning of sim racing. So I get to spend a lot of time in the simulator, and I suck. So, and one more funny story. Before I finish up tonight.
Yeah, we're about to get out of here.
Basketball on different generations. Junior high school, we got brand new basketball shoes.
Oh, yeah?
Chuck Taylor Converse basketball shoes. We thought we were the shit.
I don't think people know what Converse is anymore.
The worst damn basketball shoe that was ever developed. It was horrible, wasn't it, Bruce?
Is that the Converse?
Hey, I got 2 pairs of Converses here in my house right now, so I'm okay with that.
That's the new.
I got a pair of black and a pair of gray ones.
Listen,
they're more for style now, I guess, than basketball.
Hang on, guys. Wait a minute.
That's right.
Wait a minute. He says Converse.
He
says Converse, and to me, that's the equivalent of when I was a kid, and my daddy gave me fucking Everlast to wear as name brand shoes as a kid going to school. Okay, by the end of the week, they had holes in them. Like seriously, I mean, come on. Oh, all right, Mike. So continue your story. Converse and Everlast, they kind of go hand in hand.
Oh yeah, Converse sucked. Air Jordans were better.
Oh my goodness! Bruce Barrett, esports, what's your take on it, especially the NASCAR iRacing stuff lately on TV?
I think it's a lot of fun to watch. I think it'll bring, wow. Let's, when racing